Mom said she couldn't afford my flight, then my aunt posted vacation photos. I whispered to my husband, "Call the lawyer." 5 minutes later, their phones started blowing up. I always thought I was just being a good daughter, the steady one, the one who always showed up. But then, one innocent photo, a casual social media post, shattered everything I believed about my family, revealing a betrayal so deep it still makes my blood run cold. My name's Maya. I'm 30, and yeah, I'm the oldest. That means I'm the default planner, the one who knows everyone's flight times, their weird food allergies, and, somehow, how to reset the router at my parents' house. It's just my nature, I guess. I work as a project coordinator at a small design firm, keeping things organized, making sure everything runs smoothly. My husband, Alex, he's incredible. He's got this quiet patience that just calms people down just by standing near them. I needed that, more than I knew. See, in my family, being organized slowly morphed into being the one who makes things happen, and somehow, that turned into being the one who pays. My younger sister, Leia, she's 26. She's the favorite. Always has been. She's funny, super photogenic, always on the brink of something big. She posts captions like, "manifesting abundance," and my mom, bless her heart, comments with glitter emojis like she's cheering for a professional sports team. If I ever say, "Hey, maybe we should look at the numbers," Mom tells me I'm being negative. If Leia says, "I'm thinking of a startup," Mom practically hands her a CEO sash. I'm used to it. I'm the support beam. Nobody notices you until the ceiling caves in, right? I kept the peace. I said sure a lot. And I sent money, labeled just until Friday, and then I never asked for it back. I told myself that's what grown children do when their parents say they're struggling. You help. You don't make them explain every single line item. Then, about 2 months ago, my mom called. Her voice sounded so tired, so genuinely defeated. "We just can't afford the flight for your birthday, honey. Prices are insane." I believed her. Every word. I even cried a little after the call, quietly, because the plan had been for them to finally come see our place, stay in the guest room Alex and I had been furnishing with all these cool secondhand finds. I told Alex I understood. He just hugged me, and I let it go. Flights are expensive. Life is tight. I get it. 3 weeks later, we went to a housewarming for my cousin. I was refilling the ice bucket, trying not to say anything about the charcuterie board practically spilling onto the brand new rug, when my Aunt Carol suddenly shouts, "Group photo." Everyone shuffled onto the new pool deck. Bare feet, plastic cups, someone's Bluetooth speaker blasting a song from high school. I stood off to the side, holding someone's baby, while Aunt Carol took, 20 takes. Later that night, on the couch, I scrolled through her posts. There was the sparkling pool, the drinks with the sugared rims, the inflatable swan. And then I saw it. Aunt Carol's post, set to public, tagging everyone in a little burst of enthusiasm. And there she was. My mom. On that same pool deck, cocktail in hand, smiling so wide I could literally count her teeth. The caption, "Best family vacation ever. Sun, laughs, and zero stress." The tags, Mom, Dad, Leia, Uncle Dan, 3 cousins. My mother had untagged herself on her own page, but Aunt Carol's tag on the original post? It stuck. Alex leaned over my shoulder. "Is that?" "It's Mom," I said, my voice barely a whisper. "That's the resort by the airport. The one with the non-stop deals." He didn't say anything at first. He just sat there with me, and my ears filled with that hot, hollow sound you get right before you start breathing too fast. I texted Mom. Just 3 words, "How was it?" She responded with a heart emoji. Then, "Oh, that?" It was spontaneous. Leia had points. "Points," I typed. "You couldn't afford flights to see us, but you went on a trip," she wrote back. "You're twisting things, Maya." It was a gift. I put my phone face down. Then I picked it back up. I stared at that photo again. My mother, in a straw hat I'd complimented last summer because she said she couldn't afford a new one. The caption glowing. The comments glowing. The part of my brain that tracks money like weather maps started moving through those clouds with a pencil. We set aside the travel fund for them, I said quietly to Alex. We put $200 a month in for almost a year so they could come out. They said they'd hold it until flights dropped. Alex didn't lecture me. He never does. He just asked, "Do you want to know where the money went?" "Yes," I said, my voice tight. "And I'm scared to find out." He nodded, reached for my hand. "Calm, as always," he said. "Then we look. And then we decide." I opened my laptop. I didn't do anything else that night. No calls, no messages. I just stared at the picture of my mother's drink, the sugared rim catching the sun, and I felt something in me shift. Not anger, not yet. Something colder. A line being drawn by someone's quiet hand. I slept badly. In the morning, I made coffee, sat down at the kitchen table, and clicked into my bank history. I thought I was going to be sick. A week later, I walked into a bank branch with Alex on my left and a woman in a navy blazer on my right. She was a lawyer, recommended by a friend. I had a printout that would shut a room down. By the time we got back to the car, my phone wouldn't stop ringing. People think these moments, these big, life-altering showdowns, they come out of nowhere. They don't. They build. The way a junk drawer builds. One rubber band, one dead battery, one takeout menu you swear you'll use again. You wake up one day and the drawer won't close. And somehow, you're shocked. We weren't rich growing up. Not poor either. We were comfortable, if careful, which in my family meant two very specific things. We always had just enough for what Leia needed. And my needs? They always came with a lecture. When Leia wanted dance classes, Mom found a scholarship and a neighbor who could carpool. When I asked for a graphing calculator, Dad said, "Can't you borrow?" and then made a joke about how letters shouldn't be in math anyway. If Leia forgot her lunch, Mom drove across town. If I forgot my lunch, I learned to like water. By high school, I kept spreadsheets for everything. College applications, bus schedules, how many hours I needed at the coffee shop to cover books. Leia? She had a binder labeled Dream Board. Mom took photos of it and posted them with captions like, "So proud of my visionary girl." When I showed Mom my spreadsheet, she just said, "Oh, honey, that's stressful." Money entered conversations through side doors. My parents never said, "We don't have it." To Leia, they said, "We'll figure it out." With me, they said, "Be realistic." When I got a partial scholarship to a state school, I told them I could take loans for the rest. Mom hugged me and cried like I'd proposed to poverty. 2 weeks later, she co-signed a brand new car for Leia so she could audition in the city. It sounds petty written out. It didn't feel petty. It felt like being useful. I became the person who filled gaps. Mom would call to ask if I could front the utilities for the month because the autopay got weird. Dad once sent me a photo of a shut-off notice like it was a ransom note, and I scrambled between a double shift and a final to cover it. Leia posted from a rooftop bar that night. Everyone commented, "Queen." In my 20s, I moved in with Alex. He's gentle in a way people think is weakness until they have to carry something heavy. He watched me send $300 here, $150 there, always with just until, always without a date. He watched me justify it while I made dinner. "They're tight right now," I'd say. "Okay," he'd say. "What's the plan for next time?" There wasn't one. There was always a new gap, an urgent fee, a surprise bill. Leia's programs just changed names, but the costs had the same rhythm. Mom created the travel fund idea after she said, "It would mean the world to us to see your place, but flights are so much." I said, "We can help." She said, "Don't you dare," in that tone that means, "Please do." Alex and I set up a separate savings sub-account, labeled For Parents Flights. We put $200 a month in it. I sent Mom screenshots, little green bars growing. She sent heart emojis. She said, "We promise we won't touch it until flights drop." Meanwhile, she asked for bridge help for a few weeks while Dad was between contracts. I auto-transferred $250 on the first, because the asking was worse than the giving. Leia texted me late one Friday, card declined at the pharmacy. Can you spot me? I'll Venmo tonight. She didn't. On Sunday, she posted a boomerang clinking glasses. Caption, self-care. It's so easy to think you're generous when you're actually bleeding slowly. It's so easy to confuse boundarylessness with love. The first real fracture was last winter. I had COVID, fever, chills, the whole thing. Leia texted me a reel of immune-boosting juices and then asked if I could watch her dog because she was going on a retreat. I said, I have COVID. She sent a crying emoji and then a photo from the retreat, white robes, citrus water, sunlight. Mom commented, "You deserve it, baby." When my grandmother died in the spring, the will revealed a small inheritance split between the grandkids. It wasn't huge, but it was real money, enough to knock out a chunk of my student loan. Mom offered to hold my portion so it doesn't get eaten by interest or taxes. Alex squeezed my knee under the table. I told Mom I'd take a check. She frowned, then smiled too brightly. Of course. A week later, she told me the estate was complicated and checks would take a while. Leia posted a story from a boutique with a caption, "Grammy would have wanted me to have this." I pushed the feeling down. The one that says, "This is not an accident," pushing it down is a skill you learn slowly. And unlearn slowly. Then came the call about flights. Mom sounded tired. I'm so embarrassed to say this, but we just can't afford to visit. Prices are absurd. I believed her because I wanted to. I said, we'll try another time. Then Aunt Carol's pool photo happened. The straw hat. The sugared rim. Best family vacation ever. I thought I was going to bite through my own tongue. I opened the bank history for the travel fund. The balance wasn't zero. That would have been too obvious. It was low. There were withdrawals labeled cash transfer and bill pay. Sunshine Travel. Sunshine Travel is the agency Mom used for every trip when we were kids. The first transfer out exactly matched 3 round-trip tickets to that resort on a weekday sale. The second was for incidentals. The third was split into 2, Lux Lounge and airport parking. I stared until the numbers blurred. I clicked into our main account. There were Zelle payments to Carol D. with memo hearts. There was a debit charge in my mother's town Ford Glass and Vine Spa. There was a Cash App transfer to Leia with a sparkle emoji. The dates lined up with Aunt Carol's photo. I scrolled back further and saw 2 transfers from months earlier, from the grandkids' inheritance account my uncle had temporarily parked at Mom's request to simplify paperwork. The transfers were labeled family reimbursements. No one reimbursed me. I called my uncle. Did Mom ever send you routing info for my share? He sighed. The sigh of someone who's been avoiding telling the truth. She asked me to wire both shares to her to divide fairly. I assumed she did. She didn't. Do you want me to resend directly to you? He asked. She spent it, I said. On a vacation. Silence hummed through the line. Maya, he said softly, I'm sorry. I hung up and put my face in my hands. My phone buzzed. Aunt Carol, oblivious, had tagged me in a comment, "We missed you. Next time." I almost laughed. Alex stood by the sink, drying a glass slowly. You ready to call someone? He asked. I nodded. I'm done playing accountant for people who lie. I found a lawyer through a recommendation from a friend who dealt with an overly helpful relative and a joint account once. The lawyer's name was Jenna. Her email reply came in 8 minutes with, "Bring statements. Bring any texts. We'll sort what's emotional from what's actionable." The next morning, we sat in her office, a wall of certificates behind her and one plant that was alive in a way my plants never are. I slid the folder across. She read page by page with that steady stillness that makes you feel less crazy. Okay, she said finally. We have 3 buckets. The travel fund, with a clear written purpose in texts. The inheritance that should have gone directly to you. And the miscellaneous transfers that look like a pattern, but we'll pick our battles. She looked up. We will send a demand letter. We will secure your accounts. And we will not argue on the phone. My mother will say I'm dramatic, I said, a flicker of the old fear. She can say it to my email, Jenna said. And I exhaled in a way that felt like coughing up a stone. We changed passwords. We shut off external transfers. We removed my cards from the old family grocery app. Jenna drafted a letter that used words like misappropriation and constructive trust and a return of funds within 10 business days. I read it twice and felt my hands shake. Are you sure? Alex asked gently. Yes, I said. I'm sure. We printed one copy because Jenna said some people only believe paper. We went to the branch to flag the travel fund and the inheritance account, to add notes to block helpful relatives from receiving information, for security purposes. The branch manager was kind in that careful way bankers are kind. He said, we can't mediate family disputes. And Jenna said, I'm not asking you to. By the time we got back to the car, my phone lit up. Mom across the screen, then Dad, then Leia, then Mom again, then Mom again. I watched the numbers climb. I didn't answer. Jenna said, don't. And I didn't. At 5:03 p.m., Mom sent a group text, how could you do this to us? At 5:05, she called. At 5:07, she wrote, answer your mother. At 5:09, Dad wrote, you always were cruel. At 5:10, Aunt Carol wrote privately, what's happening? Your mom is crying. At 5:12, Leia wrote, wow, over a vacation? It wasn't over a vacation. It was over the drawer that wouldn't close. Jenna told me. People like my mother either call a meeting or try to turn the group chat into a courtroom. Mom did both. She texted, family dinner. Sunday 6 p.m. No lawyers. Jenna said, I can't stop you from going, but I can tell you what to say and what not to sign. We went, Alex at my side. I promised myself I wouldn't raise my voice. I promised myself I would leave if my voice started to shake. The table was set like a magazine. Cloth napkins, wine glasses for people who judge the legs. Leia wore a linen dress like she hadn't just posted a story from a rooftop the night before with Sunday scaries and 3 laughing emojis. Dad stood by the stove like a statue in an apron that said, kiss the cook, even though he never does the cooking unless it's for a photo. Mom greeted us with a kiss that didn't quite land. You look tired, she said. Stress ages you. Sit. We sat. The first 10 minutes were small talk, delivered like gunfire. Weather. Work. The cousin's baby's first tooth. I waited it out, hands in my lap under the table, fingers pressed together to keep them still. Finally, Mom put down her fork with a little clink. Maya, she said, using that sad voice. The one that used to make me over-apologize. Explain to us what this letter is. It's a demand to return funds that were set aside for a specific purpose, I said, my voice steady. And my inheritance. Dad barked a laugh. Inheritance? From my mother? We managed that. You mismanaged it, I said, into margaritas. Leia snorted. Okay, accountant. I turned to her. Leia, did you know the travel fund was for flights to visit us? We wrote that in the texts. I sent the balance updates. She shrugged one shoulder. Plans changed. You didn't tell me they had changed, I said. You told Aunt Carol to tag you in best family vacation ever, though. Mom slapped her napkin onto the table. I will not be humiliated in my own home. You humiliated yourself when you asked me for bridge money while you were on a pool float, I said, and Alex's hand brushed my knee, a quiet reminder to breathe. Dad leaned forward. We raised you, he said. We kept a roof over your head. The least you can do is open my wallet when you feel like it? I cut him off. I already did that for years. Mom's eyes flashed. We are family. Money flows. Not without consent, I said. Consent? Dad sputtered, as if the word was obscene at a dinner table. Jenna had told me to keep it simple. Don't catalog every slight. Don't litigate every $75. Pick the big rocks. Return to them like a lighthouse. I took a breath. 3 things, I said, holding up a finger, then another, then another. 1. The travel fund is returned in full. 2. My inheritance is repaid by Friday via wire. 3. You remove my information from any app, card, or bill that is not mine. Going forward, no loans, no holds, no just until. If you need help, you can ask, and I can say yes or no. Mom's mouth trembled. After everything. This isn't about revenge, I said, my voice calm in a way that made even me listen. This is about closure. I'm closing a door that should have been closed all along. Leia rolled her eyes. You love drama. You love other people's money, I said flatly. This is me loving mine. Dad's face flushed the way it does when the football team loses. You think a lawyer scares me? She's not here to scare you, I said. She's here to keep me from being bullied into calling theft a misunderstanding. Mom pointed toward the fridge like she could point at a memory. We paid for your summer camps. We paid for your braces. You paid for parenting, I said. That's not a tab you run in your children's 30s. Silence felt like a heavy blanket. For a second, I almost apologized for the sound it made. Old reflex. I swallowed it. Leia picked up her phone. Alex, she said, catching herself, eyes darting to my husband to see if she'd rattled me. Isn't this extreme? She stretched the word like gum. We're family. Alex leaned in, elbows on the table, voice soft. Family doesn't need to hide their spending. If you needed the money, you could have asked. Leia's face pinched. We did ask. Mom asked all the time. You asked, and then you took, I said. That's the difference. Mom suddenly cried. Real or practiced? I couldn't tell. You're tearing this family apart, she sobbed. Over a few margaritas. It's not the margaritas, I said. It's the lying and the expectation. And the way you made me feel petty for caring about numbers while you were shopping in duty-free. Dad stood so fast, his chair scraped. Get out, he yelled. I stood too. My hands weren't shaking. Send the wire by Friday, I said. If you don't, Jenna files, and we don't talk about money ever again. We talk about weather and peaches and books, but not money. Mom sobbed harder. You're cruel. I looked at her. No. I'm full. Leia muttered, you'll regret this. I picked up my bag. I regret not doing it sooner. We walked out. The night air hit me like a cold cloth. In the car, I stared at my hands. They looked like mine. The first day after that dinner was loud. My phone lit up like it had been waiting for a reason to prove it was alive. 23 missed calls from Mom. 11 from Dad. 17 texts from Leia, ranging from over a vacation LOL to you're dead to me. 6 from relatives I hadn't seen since 2019, your mother is heartbroken. Money comes and goes. Family is forever. Call me. I muted the thread. I made tea. I opened my work laptop and answered tickets like nothing had shifted under my feet. At lunch, I stared at the wall for a while. At 2, my boss pinged, everything okay? I wrote, family drama. I'm fine. He sent back a thumbs up and a gif of a dog under a blanket. At 4 p.m., Mom switched tactics. We can talk. No lawyers. We're not criminals. Then, I raised you better than this. Then, your grandmother is rolling in her grave. Then, please. Jenna told me not to respond until the money arrived, or didn't. They'll use your words to make it your fault, she said. Silence is a boundary, too. At 7 p.m., Aunt Carol texted me privately. I didn't realize the travel fund was for flights to you. Your mom said it was a surprise for all of us. I'm sorry. I sent back, thanks for telling me. She wrote, do you want me to talk to her? I wrote, no. Not about money. At 9 p.m., Grandpa called on FaceTime from his recliner, the angle that shows you too much ceiling. I don't understand all the online stuff, he said, but I know lying when I see it. He sighed. Proud of you for doing the hard thing, kindly. That's rare. I cried after we hung up. Not keening. Just those small, hot tears that come out when your body decides it's finally time to unclench. Day 2 was quieter. Leia posted a story, a screenshot of a quote that said, beware of those who weaponize boundaries. I closed the app and washed dishes that didn't need washing. Alex took the sponge from me. Come sit, he said. We watched 2 episodes of a show where nothing bad happens. It felt like being wrapped in a towel right out of the dryer. On day 3, Dad showed up at our building without warning. The buzzer sounded like an alarm in a submarine. Let me up, he said. No, I said. Text me. He started in on the elevator camera. After everything. I hung up. Jenna had said, you're allowed to end a call. He texted, you've humiliated us. Your mother hasn't slept. I typed, send the wire by Friday. Then I put the conversation on mute. Friday morning, 9:12. My phone buzzed with a text from the bank. Incoming domestic wire pending. 10 minutes later, Jenna forwarded the confirmation the bank had sent her to. Subject line, funds received. The number was the exact amount of the travel fund, plus what the lawyer confirmed I was owed from Grandma, minus a suspicious processing fee I flagged. Jenna followed up. At 4 p.m., the remainder hit as a separate transfer labeled ADJ, like a shrug. At 6 o'clock, Mom texted, we hope you're satisfied. I didn't answer. At 6:02, she texted a photo of their dinner table with an empty chair and a caption, this is what money does to families. I stared at it for a long time and realized the empty chair wasn't mine. It belonged to the version of me who never asked questions. The next week, we did normal things. We bought a second-hand dresser. We went to the farmer's market and argued gently about peaches versus nectarines. I slept through the night, which felt like a luxury I hadn't paid for yet. When my phone buzzed, it was a friend asking if I wanted to try a pottery class. I said yes, and I didn't check with anyone else's schedule. Relatives trickled into my messages like tourists. Can you just tell me your side? Your mom is devastated. We don't air dirty laundry. I made a canned response in notes and pasted it, I won't discuss money by text. I'm happy to see you for coffee to talk about life. Most didn't reply. Leia tried one more thing, if you're really about closure, prove it. Put the money back into a family account where we can all access it when needed. I typed, no. Then I put her on Do Not Disturb. Sunday came. No one invited us to dinner. I cooked pasta, and Alex and I ate on the couch. I didn't set a second place just in case. The quiet felt like air after a storm. It didn't ring. It settled.